Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spindle TV. My name is Laney Shaughnessy, and thanks for joining me tonight. I know there's a lot going on. There's a presidential debate happening. I think it's at 8:30 or something like that. So I appreciate you guys and girls hanging out with me tonight for a little bit and all that wonderful jazz. We're going to do some Halloween projects. We're getting close to the holidays and stuff, and I've been tasked to do some projects for an upcoming special that we have. And so I've been making Christmas projects and Thanksgiving projects and stuff, kind of designing those. And I thought, you know what? A lot of people forget about Halloween. And so we're going to make some Halloween projects tonight. Now, some of the things, like for instance, if you went to like Home Depot, they have this insulation board. Comes in 4x8 sheets or 2x2 sheets. I usually get the smaller sheets, but they're about an inch thick. Sometimes you can find them thicker. If you can find them thicker, like 2-inch thick, that's awesome. But those are fun to carve. They carve decently. You know, they're not like, high density urethane foam board, signs foam, is expensive. That, they're inexpensive, $28 for a 4x8 sheet. But they make great tombstones and fun stuff like that, for Halloween. Get a couple of tomato stakes, stick in it, and then stick it in the yard, and a couple of them in the yard with some cool designs and all. So we're gonna look at that. We're gonna look at some ornamental stuff for like centerpieces of tables and fun things. So yeah, hopefully you pick something up out of this. This is also going to be kind of a Q&A as well. So if you have any questions, you can ask and I'll answer. But I'm not going to get too sidetracked off of the project. Usually I get going down a rabbit hole and everything. I'll do my best to answer questions, but it's more going to be the design class and everything. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. The pink stuff, Harvey, the one with the Pink Panther on it is a good sign foam board. Blue stuff works fine too, but I usually get the pink stuff. It's at Home Depot, and it's got the picture of the Pink Panther on it. And even the 1/8 sheets, online, like I went to I was going to get the item number offline, with homedepot.com, and I didn't see the 2-inch thick sheets listed online. But I can go down to Home Depot, my store, and they have it there. But online, all they had was the 1-inch or 3/4 or 1/2 inch. And if that's all they have in your store, definitely get the 1-inch. It works well and everything, because they're not deep carvings and everything, but the 2-inch really allows you to kind of get some kind of depth to the carving and all. And the pink really, like if you have lights and everything, the pink really reflects off that. Or you could get creative and do some spray paint combinations, white and black, kind of gray spray paint, and get a marble effect going on. You can be creative that way and stuff and everything. So it's quite fun. But yeah. Yeah. So what we're going to do is, let me get my screen share happening over here. Okay. And the first project, sorry, something popped up on my screen. The first project is what are we going to do with the first project? There's one project I want to do tonight, and I wish I had a photo of one, but it's going to be kind of a centerpiece for a table and a pumpkin. And what I might do is we might draw it up in SketchUp so you can see kind of the 3D visual, get a visual of the effect. But we're going to design it in here to cut out all the parts and pieces and everything. So we might jump over, we might take a jump over to SketchUp and design that out. But let's play around with some tombstone stuff. Now, for very simple carvings, we're going to be in VCarve Pro, and then I'll show you something a little bit more elegant in Aspire and everything, where you can get into 3D modeling. But for these projects, we want them quick and simple. So there'll be a lot of VCarve or pocket cuts to kind of create the effects that we want in things. that'll be, you know, quick and simple to do. But also I may pop over to Aspire and show you, like, you know, how you can do a 3D version of like a tombstone and stuff like that. But let's get started. It's going to be a single-sided job. This one is going to be. And like I said, that red or pink insulation foam board works pretty cool. Very inexpensive, $28 for a 4x8 sheet. And you can have some different sayings in it, you know, the here lies, you know, Bob, here lies Beavis, whatever, you know, those kind of things. But we're going to do some other designs, some RIP with some skulls or some crosses or what have you, do some pocket cuts and kind of show you how to do some cracked and distressed effects and everything. We'll get into that. And so let's start off with 24-inch tall, 1 inch thick. We'll go 1 inch thick just in case you can't find the 2-inch stuff. We'll go 1 inch thick. And I'm going to go, how wide am I going to go? If I go 24, we'll go 16 inches wide. All right. And for this, I'm just going to be referencing off the material surface. I'm going to start from the center. You can start from the bottom left corner, wherever you want to start from. It doesn't matter. I'll set mine up to start from the bottom left corner. I'll stay consistent with my machine. And we're going to click OK. All right. So let me see here. Yeah, and Baron 3/4 is typically good for matching insulation, but they do have 1 inch and also 2 inch if you can find it, or 1.5. But we want the thicker the better for the carving and everything. So also that, you know, it's not too fragile. We're going to be sticking, you can stick like tomato stakes, whatever, you know, just some stakes up in it, into the foam and then down into the ground. So they stand up on their own. And also, anyone know anything cheaper alternatives to sign foam? Sign foam's expensive. I mean, the 4x8 sheet of 1.5 inch sign foam is like $525. That's not what I'm referring to in this. This is our $28 insulation board. Have some fun there. And yeah, and Donald throwing out some tips. Home Depot and Lowe's, they sell stone paint. So there you go. You can really give it a stone effect. Yes, and this is important too, Troy. You know, careful with the spray paint. Some paints can dissolve the foam. Do a test piece first. Absolutely. So thanks for throwing that tip out there, Troy, because I would not have even thought about or remembered to mention that. But yes, some foams have like an alcohol, or some paints have like an alcohol base or whatever, or I forget what, I think it's an alcohol base, but it could dissolve the foam. And we don't want that, right? We don't want that. So we want to put a nice primer, you know, and paint and all that stuff. But yeah, do a test thing. And so thanks for throwing that out there, Troy. And yeah, Chris is like, yeah, just like styrene and gasoline. Same thing. Yeah, it does that dissolve effect. It's like putting gasoline on it. I think it's alcohol-based paints. Some spray paints have alcohol based? I'm not sure. But yeah. So there you go. All right, let's get into this. And that's not the screen that I wanted. This is the screen that I wanted. And let's just have a little bit of fun. We'll make a couple of simple tombstone designs, and then we'll get into that one centerpiece that I want to make, because that's going to require a couple of pieces getting cut out and assembled together. But let's start off with a simple tombstone here. So I am going to start off with a rectangle to right about here. And then I'm going to go into node editing mode, and I'm going to take this top line here, this span, and I'm going to turn it into an arc. And oh, I was so close, so close. We'll size it down a little bit. I thought I had it. I thought I nailed it on that one. We'll get it sized down onto our board, and that'll give us that initial shape. Now we're going to offset this inward. I want kind of a ridge, a rim around the edge. We're going to offset it inward. Let's go about 1.5 inches. Let's see what that looks like. 1.5 inches border looks pretty good. And yeah. All right, cool. Let's go into, and you guys tell me if my audio starts screwing up or anything like that. Steve, by the way, says he uses 10mm Coro plastic for all his holiday light displays. They work great with LEDs and pixel lights. Cool. Coro plastic. Steve S., throw in the chat room. Is there a place like online where you can get that, or is it a home store? Coro plastic. I haven't heard of that. If you don't mind sharing a source, or if there's like a general place online, Amazon or something where people can get it, throw that out there. We're going to pop over to dafont.com. I love dafont.com. If you guys have never used dafont.com, get into it, man. It's a place where you can find thousands of free, cool fonts for use for both personal and commercial use and stuff. And I know I read a story about a guy online who was making these kind of tombstones out of foam board and painting them all, and he was selling them, and he was making money around the Halloween holidays and stuff. That's pretty cool concept, something to think about. People are always looking for cool, neat stuff. All right, so let's see what Halloween holiday font over here has in store for fonts. Ooh, okay. So there's a lot of fonts that you see free for personal use. Let's kind of narrow it down for the free for business and personal use. I'm just going to go RIP, and I'm going to go more options, and I want 100% free for both personal and commercial use, and click submit. Now, if it's for your own personal use and all, that's what those fonts are for. You can find some. Phantom Fingers looks pretty cool. Here's some different vectors. That's pretty cool. Or not really vectors, but some different GIFs. Let's see here. What I'm looking for. There's only two in the holiday function. There's only two pages of fonts. So not a whole lot to choose from. This one's pretty cool. We'll go with this one here. It's kind of got a little bit of a wiggly, spooky kind of look. We'll deal with that. So let's download that. And let's open that up. I don't even want to know what that is right there. All right, we're going to ungroup this or unzip it. It's a, is it a compressed file? Yeah, it's a compressed file. We're going to click extract all and extract. And then we're going to right click on the font. I don't know why it's freezing up, but we'll let it do its thing. There we go. We're going to click install. Espen Halloween is what that font is called. So we'll go ahead and get out of here. And let's open up our text box here. I don't know why my inside of my ear is itching me today. Let's find our font. Espen Halloween. And let's just go with a R. Oh, cool. The little period is a little skull. Look at there. R-I-P. We're going to see if there's a bold function. There is. Cool. I like bold. And let's go with a 4-inch tall text. There we go. Very simple stuff here so far. Let's move this up a bit right in here. And let's just start off with a simple cross, and then we'll get into like a skull and things like that. But let's start off with a simple cross. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle like this, like that. And then let's get it positioned. I'm going to bump that down just a little bit and then center it up. I'm going to select this rectangle first and then this one second. And I'm going to align it to a selection left and right to get it centered. Very cool. And then I'm going to weld it together. All right. Simple, easy breezy, easy breezy. All right. So now with something like this, if we're going to do it as a straight pocket cut, I've seen and we got to get rid of that loop right there, but I've seen tutorials and stuff where they do it just as a simple pocket cut. And that's all great and well, as long as you have a bit small enough to get into the areas that you're cutting. We can space that out a little bit more there, but it won't cut right there. We won't get a bit in there. That's fine. But if we wanted to do a raised effect and we wanted to be able to get this good detail, especially in here, in the little skull periods and all, then it's a VCarve toolpath. We want to do it as a VCarve toolpath with a flat depth. So that'll create a combination of a VCarve and a pocket and things. But let's do a little bit of cleanup before we get into toolpathing. On the RIP, we got to go into our select our text, and we're going to convert it to curves. And then we'll start over here with this, and we're just going to trim away that little loop there. And I'm going to go into node editing just a little bit on node editing. And I'm going to pull this back slightly. I'm just going to open this up just a little bit in there. No big deal. Now on the skulls, we have these overlapping lines here, but that's kind of to like make the teeth or what have you. So I want to kind of keep that effect, but I can't have the overlapping lines. Now, what I'm going to do with this is I'm simply going to crisscross or uncross these lines. And let's do that by selecting these vectors, all these anchors and vectors on this side here, and even this guy. Let me see. Let's grab his other anchor there and there. And I'm just going to use my right arrow key, and I'm just going to kind of bring it over. Okay. Bring it over. And then over here, and I'm going to just do one, then I'll copy and paste it to the other one. There ain't no sense in me. There's no sense in me, doing both of them. Once I get one down, then the other. And now I can take my scissors and just, don't do that. Let's come in here and go back into node editing. And we're going to just take this crossbar here and go whoop, swoop that around like that. And we're going to take this one and kind of swoop. There it is. All right. So we just separated that. So again, with this one here, we're going to come in and we're going to grab all the nodes and their anchors on the one side. So I'm holding down the shift key while I select all the nodes and the anchors. And I'm just going to use my right arrow key and pull this around. Okay. I'll take this anchor here and just kind of swoop that around in this direction and this one up. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's a little skull, right? So we'll give them a little bit of a kind of a fang tooth there. And last but not least, we'll do the same thing with this last one. So let's grab this here all the way down to this anchor. Again, I'm going to use my right arrow key and I'm just going to kind of bump them over. All right, let's clean this up down here a bit. Come up here, let's swoop this around. And this one as well. And there we go. So we've kind of cleaned up that font, and no sense, like I said, no sense in, repeating ourselves on this one, I'm just going to Control C, Control V, copy and paste. I'm going to drag this over to right about where it's at. And I'm going to group it together so it's easy to select. And then I'm going to select this other one. I'm going to hit delete. And then I'm going to select this one. With this, I'm going to go to my alignment tool and align it up and down so they're back in align with one another. All right, line to selection. So selecting that one first, and then this outline here, I didn't need to select the eyes or anything. Just bring it down. And so there we go. There's no more, anything that we need to kind of clean up. So very simple, right? Now, did my screen freeze on you guys? Did the screen freeze up? Harvey is asking, am I frozen, or are you guys hear and see me? Let me know. Let me know. Yeah, Harvey, didn't know you could move them like that. In node editing, let's, as an example here, let's just grab a rectangle. A lot of things you can do with nodes. Of course, you can insert points. You can move them around with your mouse. You can actually even move the line as well. You can grab the line in 10.5. Earlier versions you can't. But you can select it with your arrow keys up, down, left, right. You can do that. And you can even drag, like I said, drag them around, whatever the case may be. But one of the other things with a keyboard shortcut, you can also align. So let's say, for example, that I wanted to align this node with this anchor here to get it kind of straightened back out. I would select this anchor first, this node last, the one I want to align, and up and down is Y, left and right is X. So if I hit the Y on my keyboard, it'll pull that node down into alignment with the first one that I selected. Right? Yeah, it's a cool things you can do in your area as long as you, and you can select multiple nodes and you can move them around, and you can even select it. Can even move to and start pulling it. If I type in 0.25 and hit enter, I can move them that 1/4 of an inch. So I can, let's see if that works. Let's do it again. I'll pull it a little bit. I'll stop. And if I type in 1 inch, value 1, and hit enter, it's going to move for 1 inch. All right. So you can do that as well too. All right, let's get rid of that and let's go back to our design. So this is a very simple, nothing to it. Let's dress it up a little bit. First of all, let's get the VCarve toolpath done so you can see what it's initially going to look like. Then we're going to add some distressing and cracks to it. Okay. So let's get over here with our, we're going to select this inside vector here. Oops, get out of node editing mode. Get out of node editing mode. We're going to select all the inside vectors here. It's going to be a VCarve toolpath. I'm going to go down 1/4 of an inch. You could probably go down 3/8 or what have you, but since I'm working with 1 inch foam board, 1/4 would be fine. This bit, I'll even work mill. And since my board is kind of more 90 degrees and there's no real grain, I'm going to just use a raster back and forth 90 degrees. So it's kind of back and forth along that. It'll have time to ramp up to speed and things. And let's calculate that out. Let's see here. There's some overlap still. Overlap still where? Let's find out. On the P. 207 my find out where right here. Scissors away. And let's see if we can identify the other one. without looking right here. So let's just trim that away and call it a done day. All right, let's go in there and calculate that. And let's preview that selected toolpath. Of course, I previewed the selected toolpath when what I wanted to do, and let's go with a low simulation quality so it's much faster. I want to preview all the toolpaths. All right, so very simple here. And now let's go ahead and we'll get a profile cut in there too, just for preview purposes. Let's get a profile cut going. We're going to cut 1 inch thick. We're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. For this, we're going to be on the outside of the line. I don't really, you know, this is the same size as my foam here. I'm only cutting these corners out right here. So I think I'm just going to go into node editing, and I'm going to cut the vector here and cut the vector here. And I'm just going to use that so I can put clamps, you know, on the rest of this and stuff. I'm just going to, this vector here, I'm going to profile cut, and I want to cut on the outside of the line. Calculate, preview that selected toolpath. And now, here's the thing. Looking at this, because my bit, it cut on the inside of the line because the way the line was drawn, if we look at that toolpath, let's put a check mark in it down here, and we go to solid view. Solid view's up here. It cut on the wrong side of the line. So what I need to make sure of is that was on the outside of the line, outside right. So outside right is what it cut on. It cut on the right side. I need to be on the inside left side of the line. And you think, wasn't that the outside? Well, the right side of the line is they consider outside, the inside is they consider the left side. So I need to be on the left side and calculate that. There we go. Let's reset that preview and preview all the toolpaths again. And now we have a basic shell. Okay. So we have a basic shell of a tombstone. Very simple. Don't even, you could probably use some tabs, but it's sign foam. You don't necessarily need tabs, you know, when you cut that out, as long as you got it clamped and stable. But man, super simple and quick. But now let's kind of give it a little bit of distressing. Let's add some distress marks in here and some cracks. Now, I could, like if I wanted to be lazy about it, right, or what have you, instead of drawing my own, I could come over here and, you know, type in crack vector, crack. You know, there are lots of various images. We can go into the images here, and there's lots of various images of different types of cracks, right, that we could, you know, import in. We could trace the vectors and, you know, place those cracks where we want them and stuff. So there's all kinds of different little, you know, crack vectors and all. And, or, you know, we could draw them ourselves. It's your choice on, you know, how you want to do it. So I'm going to show you both ways. Okay. And we'll use this as one of the inside cracks. As an example. And we'll just call this crack one. Crack one. All right. And let's get out of that. And so let's import that image in. let's go to our downloads. Oh, and let's zoom into that low quality image. That's okay. We're doing a trace bitmap of that. Let's turn off the bitmap fading. Let's bring this up some, probably right about there. And I'll turn the noise filter up a bit. I'm going to keep the default corner fit and just preview and apply. And so now I have a crack that, you know, I can size up or down, and you know, we can kind of place it somewhere. Now that crack would also be a VCarve toolpath, but we got to keep in mind that we've already cut down 1/4 of an inch. So if we're going to do this, it's going to be starting at 1/4, and then I'm not going to do any flat depth, and I'm not going to use a flat area clearance tool. I just want my V bit to kind of cut that out. And so, you know, we can carve that out, and we can kind of get that crack in there. And notice some of the areas didn't carve. That's fine. It's not supposed to be a perfect crack. It's a little bit distressed and things. If we wanted it to go a little deeper, we could start a little bit deeper. I'll go 20 thousandths more, and preview and use, you know, that crack in various places and things. Very, you can kind of distress this so it's not so pristine, and I'm going to draw a couple of cracks in. So I'm going to use a poly. I'd like a crack to kind of, I want part of this to be broken, and so I'm just going to just kind of and I want to chunk out this. Let's go. This one I want to basically kind of almost create a cut. Do a profile cut. So let me see. A bit of a let's get this. So with code editing here, I'm just going to extend this crack a little bit there and there, and do a profile cut. Let's even get a little bit. Let's get that point a little bit here. You know, just cut that chunk out there. So let's go here with a let's get out of node editing mode. Let's go with a profile toolpath. Now on this one, my start point is here. So imagine starting here. This would be the, if we were looking at it downwards, now we're kind of upward here, but we have we want to be on the right side of the line, which would be this side. We're going to be cutting in the line here. So we want to be on the outside right for this, cutting 1 inch. If you've got an 1/8 inch bit that can cut up to 1 inch thick, you know, some have extended length flutes, go with that. If not, go with your 1/4 inch bit. But I'm going to go, I have an 1/8 inch bit that can extend to 1 3/32. So I'm going to change this is foam, so I can cut, you know, a pretty good amount. I'm going to cut 1/4 of an inch because it is foam. I'm going to take a 1/4 inch pass, and let's calculate that toolpath and preview that selected toolpath. There we go. So now we've got our broken tombstone in there, a little bit of a crack. Somebody was not nice to it kind of thing. Let's go in here and throw a few more cracks in here. And again, you can trace the image. And you can trace the image, the cracks and all, and you can find some pretty cool different designs and all in there. I'm just, freehand drawing some cracks. And also, a lot of them, I'm going to just draw a single line. I don't want it to look too much like a lightning bolt or anything. Let's see here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, let's throw a couple of splinters off of this. Now I'm only using a single line because I'm going to use a profile cut with a V-bit to, let's see, if that crack was coming downward and then spreading out, these would start to travel out this way. I'm trying to be correct about it, like if it was actually cracking. And let's throw a little leg up there and everything. All right, let's see what kind of damage we've done there. Let's take this and we're going to do a profile toolpath. Again, we've already pocketed this out 1/4 of an inch, so we're starting at 1/4 of an inch. And for this one, I'm just going to go 1/8 of an inch for right now. We'll go a little bit deeper, but let's see what 1/8 of an inch looks like. I'm going to just select my 60-degree V-bit. And I want to be on the line. On the line. Let's calculate that. And let's see what we did there. That looks a little generic, right? That doesn't look good at all. Lainey, you did a terrible job. It looks nothing as fancy as that one up there. So we can do better than that. We can do better than that. Let's fix that. That looked stupid. Let's see here. All right, so they got all kinds of, they don't have a lot of straight lines. They got some curves in there and stuff. And they're going double line. So let's go with the double line method. Let's see here. I'm going to just get my initial crack going. We'll start over on this side this time. Kind of my initial crack going. And let's smooth this out some. Let's go into node editing and smooth these points a bit. Kind of throw in some smooth. I'm not an artist by any means, so use your imagination and all that wonderful jazz. Let's see here. Let's kind of smooth this out and everything. And now I need to kind of, you know what? I'm an idiot. Hold on a minute. I'm an idiot. What am I doing? I'm going to draw a rectangle here. Right here. What am I doing trying to draw a line? I'm going to use this texturing tool right here. So inside this vector, let's see here. I want to go at a 45-degree angle. Spacing between the lines, I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch. All right, you guys can still hear me, right? All that stuff. Somebody says that. You guys can still hear me. Every once in a while, chime in and see if you can still hear me. But I'm going to go spacing of a 1.5 or a 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, let's go 1/4. Amplitude. Let's go 1.2 inches. The wavelength. How tall is my rectangle there? because I want the crack to go the full length. How tall is my rectangle? It is 8 inches tall. So let's go 6. And then I want to add some noise to that, some noise. And let's create that. That's not the way that I wanted them to go. Let's turn those around a bit, because I'm only going to use a couple of these, not let's go back in there. Let's turn down that noise a little. Here, let's make it. I want to kind of come straight down. You guys still hear me? Audio is choppy. I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's going on. There, we do have a storm outside. I don't know if that means anything. There we go. Oh, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Don't forget to hit OK after you hit preview. All right, cool. Ooh, that's a lot of noise. Hold on, let's back some of that noise up. That was too much noise. All right, I can deal with that. All right, hit OK. All right, now, whoa, dadgummit. Always select the vector. Yeah, things are a little slow on my side too, guys. Sounds like a robot. I'm not sure. I know every time VCarve freezes up, it screws up my audio. All right, stand by. Can you guys still hear me okay, or is the sound still acting up? Because I know when Vectric freezes up, it screws up my audio some. Oh. We are frozen. There we go. All right, sorry about that. Let's get back in there. And okay, so now we have some lines to work with, and I'm going to still some of these. We're going to ungroup them, and I'm going to still some of these so that I can combine them together to make a variety of cracks and everything. So let's grab this one here. We'll grab this one here. All right, I'm going to select these two vectors here, and I'm going to join them by bringing the two endpoints together. Of course, you see that big old gap there. That was funny. Not really, but let's go in here and kind of Oh. Don't you just love when things don't work the way that you want? There's so many nodes in there. All right, that's. We might be better off tracing the cracks because I can't draw a damn crack to save my life. Hold on a second. I can draw a crack now. Hold on a minute. There, let's get in here. All right. Let's do a little bit of holy jamoly. Everybody's like, please trace the cracks. Please trace the cracks. Let me see if I profile cut that, what that's even going to look like, if I'm wasting my time or not. Am I wasting y'all's time? Not my time. Am I wasting y'all's time? Let's see here. On the line, calculate. It would help if I started at 1/4 of an inch. It may have its purpose, but kind of liking that crack up there better. Let's preview. All right. We're going to, let's just beat this up a little bit. We'll distress it out a little. And for that, I'm going to use a bit of a texture. Let's see what I have as far as textures. Do I even have textures in VCarve Pro? All right. Guys, I got a cheat here. I'm going to look for a distressed vector. Thanks, Can. Stop. Poor, overworked, underpaid PC. Yeah, I have my new one. Hopefully, everything can get done. I'm up to $2,200 on that sucker now, with all the components and stuff. I'm waiting for that. It's being custom built. I'm hoping to have it soon. It's going to be replacing this one, and it's kind of a combination gaming / streaming PC, and I don't game, so it's going to be just for streaming. All right, let's my My cracks are terrible. We got to move on. So let's do a little bit of distressing. All right, now I don't care right now at this point. I don't care what the image quality is like because what I'm wanting to do is just get some of these just some of these dimples and wrinkles and cracks and everything. And I'm going to actually turn down I just want some of these stress marks. Let me see if I can improve the quality a little bit better. There we go. Okay, let's get rid of, let's ungroup this. Ungroup, U on the keyboard. Ungroup. And we're going to, I could tile and pattern this, but I basically just want to kind of distort it some. A little bit of distressing. And kind of not sure if I want to distress all of this or some of it. I'm going to copy and paste this. Let's see here. Let's get this sized in here. You'll see what I'm doing here in just a second. I'm actually going to kind of try to fill a lot of this up. I'm going to copy and paste that, Control V, Control C, Control V, and let's move this over here. And I'm going to thin it down. All right, let's make sure that that's ungrouped, and I'm going to delete some of this. I don't need it all. And let's size this. Come on now, work with me there, Vector. All right, let's delete some more. Okay, this vector can go away. We'll just kind of beat that side up over there a little bit. Now on this here, all of these guys, I want to select all of these vectors. I'm going to deselect my RIP, my skulls. Don't forget the little skulls and the eyeballs. And my cross. I'm going to group what I have together left. I'm going to group that together. And then that's going to be treated as one object. And now I'm going to group together my RIP, my little skull guys here. I'm going to group the inside of the R2. Oh, the inside of the R is part of that group. Bear with me. Work with me there, Junior. All right, one more time. Deselect the cross. Hold that shift key down. The inside of the R, don't forget that. My little skull there, the eye. This little skull here, leave those guys there. And the P, inside of the P too. All right, is everything checked off? Ungroup that. All right, group, G for group, to group all those together. Now I'm going to select my RIP and my cross, and I'm going to group that together. So that way I have two groups here, and the software treats it as two separate objects. And I want my RIP and my cross to be my boundaries and everything. And what I want to do with this group, the RIP and everything, is I want to offset it outward about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to make sure I hit select new. I want to select offset that outward, and I'm going to group that together. Let's close this tool and group that together. Now this is going to be my boundary. So I have one group and my outside boundary is another group. So if I select my one group first and then my outside boundary second, which let's grab outside boundary second, I'm going to trim, regular trim tool, and I'm going to clear inside of the boundary. Okay. And let that happen. I don't know why, of all days today, my VCarve Pro is kicking my butt. It's wanting to all right. All right, I'm gonna clear. There we go. Kicking my butt. All right, now on my now that I've done that, basically I can get rid of the group that's around the RIP, and that basically kind of just gives me space around everything where this distress is going to be. This crack here, that's going to be one object, and once again I'm going to select all of my, is this still grouped? No, it's not grouped anymore. I'm going to select all this and deselect my cross. My skull here, or my crack here, I want to make sure I select it last. And again, I want to clear inside that boundary. Okay, so there's no vectors in that boundary area there. And now, whatever, and this here, I want to come in and get rid of these. And now I'm just going to randomly cut this. It's going to be a V-carve, kind of like a pocket cut, if you will. But I'm going to do it as a V-carve cut, so I get different depths and different, depths on that. So let's grab those guys, this and this crack, and I'm going to V-carve it. I'm going to start at 275, actually 1/4 inch. Let's be precise about it. I'm going to use a 60-degree V-bit. 22 would probably work as well here, but I'm going to basically let it kind of come in here and distress the stone some, and I had a little bit of hit over here on the side, and that's because I had some of that selected. Let's take this area here. Let's V-carve that some. This side's kind of gotten beat up. It's all cracked on that side and everything. This is actually going to start at 0 because there's no pocket there. And we're going to calculate that. Continue anyway because there are overlapping lines. I don't care about that. What I want is, and I need a little bit more depth on these. A little bit more depth. So let's go back to that toolpath. Let's give it some start depth. Let's go 0.03. and calculate that out. Continue anyway. I just want, even though there's lines overlapping and stuff, I just want my V bit to kind of, you know, just nick and cut in there. So we have, you know, something that doesn't look so pristine and pretty. And our little depressions here, if we want to go a little bit deeper, we can do that. Let's go a little bit deeper on that one. That is those guys there. Let's bring that to 0.27 and calculate. Continue anyway. I'm not worried about the overlapping vectors. Again, this is just for the sole purpose of creating some distressing, right? So there we go. So a very simple tombstone. I had to cheat. I had to trace the distressing, you know, and I just typed in distress vector and found an image of some distressing. Because imagine, if you will, trying to draw and emulate something like that. Even the crack, you know, tracing the crack was pretty cool. I would do that. Now, as far as the cutout here, you know, that's fine. We just took a chunk out there, but you saw with me trying to draw a crack, unless you're really good and unless you got some artistic skills, and I am not an artist by any means. I'm not an artist, but if you got some artistic skills and you could draw some cracks and things in there, go for it. But otherwise, you know, it doesn't hurt to trace it out. So now we have a pretty cool, very simple one version of, you know, a distressed tombstone. And so now let's take all these vectors, except for the tombstone and the cross. Let's take all these vectors here and let's put them on their own layer. Move to layer, new layer, and I'm just going to call this distress and cracks. And I want that layer to be invisible for right now because I don't want them here. And of course, I had everything selected. Let's deselect the cross. And I just want the cracks and all the distressing. All right, so these are going to be on that distress cracks layer. And then my rest in peace cross and all, I want to move those back to layer 1. So now I can turn that distress off. All right, on this, I'm going to go ahead and ungroup these. And I'm going to throw this cross on its own layer. Move to layer. New layer. We'll just call this cross. And we can turn the visibility off on that. And now I have a clean slate. And this time we're going to bring in, let's bring in a skull. Do some skull carving. I've got a couple of pretty cool skulls, but we're going to play around with this one here. This guy looks pretty sharp. Let's go into a trace bitmap. The distressing, a VCarve toolpath. Sylvia Klosterman asks, what toolpath did you use for the distressing? A VCarve toolpath, because I wanted my V-bit to cut in between those lines. So it's a VCarve toolpath. All right, so let's go ahead and turn our visibility or our fading down a bit on that image. Let's increase the threshold. About there. And let's preview that. Cool. Let's get rid of the image. I don't know what's happening, why that is kicking my butt today. But all right, let's size this skull down some. Now, I'm going to do a VCarve toolpath on this here. And I'd like to have, I'd honestly, I'd like it to have a little bit of curvature to it, but that's okay. But, you know, I'm in VCarve Pro, so I'd use a dome or a dish or something to give it a little bit of curvature. But then that would require a 3D model cut. And I want to keep this very simple and quick with like VCarve or pocket cuts and things like that. Now, VCarve toolpath is going to cut between the lines. So it's basically going to carve between the lines of the design here. And so let's get this, we'll get this sized up here. And, you know, you can put other stuff, you know, somebody's text, do a little saying or what have you. You know, rest in peace, we're dying to meet you. I don't know, whatever. But let's go in here and let's VCarve this. Again, very simple stuff. We're going to start at 0.25 because that's how deep our pocket is. Because remember, the RIP is going to be raised up. And so we're going to calculate that. And then I'll show you how to do it raised as well. Okay, so that is gonna, we need a flat depth on this one. We need a flat depth on this one because the eye sockets and everything. So let's go 1/8 of an inch. That'll be fine. And I'm gonna use a flat area clearance tool. I'm gonna use an 1/8 inch end mill wherever it can fit. We'll use the 1/8 inch end mill. And this is foam, there's no grain, so I'm just going to do an offset cut. That's fine. Let's calculate that out. And notice I'm clicking continue anyway. There's some overlapping lines in this. There's some overlapping lines in this, but I'm just going to continue anyway because it's going to be a VCarve method. So I just wanted to cut in here in that design. But let's first, we got to go back to our design here, and I need to select this inside boundary and this RIP, and I got to create a separate toolpath for that. Another VCarve toolpath. This one's going to be cutting 1/4 of an inch deep like it was before, starting at 0, because remember, we started with a clean slate on this. 60-degree V-bit, 1/8 inch end mill is fine. You could use 1/4 inch as well, but I'm just going to stick with the 1/8. I want to raster on this one 90 degrees, so it'll be a little bit faster for me. Calculate that. All right, so let's preview that visible toolpath. This is going to create our initial shelled out tombstone. Okay, and then our skull, which is this guy here and here. Let's preview that as well. That's going to be starting at 1/4 of an inch and then carving down 1/4. And let's give this some color. Let's see here. Let's go with a solid color.
Here's a station you might like. Justin Bieber.
Alexa, no. Music. Stop. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Justin Bieber. I don't know what I said that triggered her, but she was getting ready to play some Justin Bieber. Let's go with kind of a marble. Not that marble. Let's see what marble 2 looks like. All right, so kind of like that. Let's do a global toolpath color fill. Let's get some color in here. So this guy and this guy, let's go with a black or kind of a grayish color. But I'm going to click on toolpaths to bring this up here so you guys can see. But let's start with this. Let's go with kind of, that's already gray. So let's kind of go, I don't know, blood red. Would we go black or blood red? I don't know. Let's see here. Let's find out. Let's go black. Let's uncheck those. Black doesn't look too shabby. I don't know. let's see what red looks like. Whoa, that looks cool. So we can kind of go with a red skull. I don't know, something to make the lights hit. Let's see, a marble outer edge, black inner edge. So on our pocket cut, this guy right here, let's go black with him. And maybe not black. Let's go kind of a gray. It's light gray. You know, just trying to dress it up some. And for this guy here, let's go black on that. You know, you get the idea. But now let's give our skull a little bit of body. Let's raise it up some so it stands proud like the RIP. And that'll be the last one. Then we'll move on to something different. So this is just to kind of give you some general ideas and things. Let's uncheck all these toolpaths. And let's, on our skull here, I'm going to create an offset. So it creates kind of an outer boundary, like an island around him. So I'm going to create an offset, and I'm going to go outward. Let's go 1/8 of an inch. Give me decimal points. Try that again. And okay, 1/8 of an inch isn't enough. I need it to go all the way around. So let's undo that and let's go 1/4. Okay, I can deal with that. Now, on this, we're going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to deselect this outer boundary, and then I'm going to hit delete, my delete key, to get rid of all the inner stuff. I don't want all those inner offsets and all. Now on here, I don't want this offset coming around. I want it to kind of connect here. So I'm going to do a little bit of node editing, and I'm going to cut the vector right here. And I'm going to cut this vector over here. And I'm going to delete all of that. And then I'm going to connect these vectors here. Let's get out of node editing mode. I'm going to connect this vector here with a smooth curve. Dome head. Who are the cone heads? Is that what that was back in the day? Cone heads. And I'm going to bring that curve down. That's fine. And let's kind of see if we can shape this curve somewhat. All right. He looks a little funky, but that'll work for us. That's all I care about. We have an outside border. And then I'll answer some of you guys' questions before we move on. Let's grab all of this. Not the inside, but all of this here. And we're going to do a VCarve toolpath, cutting from 0 to 1/4 inch deep. Raster cut 90 degrees is fine. We're going to calculate that toolpath. And by creating that offset, and his head looks a little oblong and funky, but by creating that offset, we're created an island, if you will, for the skull to get carved on. So it's kind of raised in as well. The goblin, you're right. The goblin, that's what it looked like. It looked like the goblin with that cone head. Shape it a little bit better. You're exactly right, Sylvia. That's funny. I knew it looked like something from Spider-Man, the goblin. All right, so we have a bit of an island there now kind of a raised island. Now we can run our VCarve toolpath on this and start at 0. And I'm just going to go 1/8 of an inch flat depth. All the tools are the same, 60-degree V-bit, 1/8 inch end mill. Calculate that out. Continue anyway. If I wanted to take time, and these are supposed to be fast and quick, designs and everything. So I'm not fixing any of the vectors or anything. I'm just taking it what it is. Now I do want a little bit more definition around the teeth and all, the teeth and everything. So on that toolpath, I am going to give myself a start depth. I'm going to go about 20 thousandths, 0.02. I want a little bit more definition around the teeth here. I'd like them to really be pronounced. Not, you know, not, I mean, so 0.02, 0.03, something like that. But let's get that going. Hey, Big Daddy Fish, how you doing, bud? And let's preview that visible toolpath. We're just getting some more, a little bit more definition in there around those teeth and everything. And so once again, you know, let's go back to just a normal solid color here on our tombstone. Let's go with kind of a gray. That's too dark. Let's go with a light gray there. And let's do a profile cut. We've already got that profile toolpath, which is right. This one right here. Profile toolpath. Let's preview that. It would help if let's get in there, double click profile. All right, let's preview that selected toolpath. All right, let's even throw in the crack on this. Let's dress this up with that split and crack there and also that crack there. Let's preview those visible toolpaths. Okay. And, you know, once again, you could distress that out, put a little distressing around it. And once again, on the distress, if I turn on that vector there, it's already wrapped around the RIP, but not around the skull, right? So on that distressing, and let's turn everything off but the distress, so I can select this distress right here, not this crack, and let's group that together so it's kind of all in one. And this over here, we'll select that and group that together. Okay. And let's ungroup this for a second and deselect this guy and group together. All right, let's move this back over to the stress into cracks. There we go. Cool. So the reason why I did that is because now I can turn on my layer 1 here and I can select my distress and I can select that skull. And again, I can trim, clearing inside the boundary. The skull was the last thing selected, so that's the boundary. So it clears out, you know, that boundary there. And now, you know, I can run that distress toolpath again. So let's turn everything off. Let me grab that distress again. Turn off the crack. And when I did the trim, it ungrouped it. So I want to group it back together there. But now, you know, again, I can now run that VCarve toolpath. Again, it's down in the pocket. So it's starting at 0.25. Let's go 0.27. I want a little bit of depth in there. And no flat depth, no clearance tool. I just want the V-bit to cut however deep it's going to cut. And now I can calculate that, continue anyway. There's 2 open vectors in there. That's fine. We'll click OK. It'll just ignore those 2 little open vectors. And I can preview that visible toolpath. And I got a little bit of distressing in his head right here, right on the outside of the head. So I don't want that. So what I want to do is I want to Control Z what I did last. Okay, let's close this tool. And I want to undo what I did last here. I want to turn that skull back on. And I want to offset the skull outward. And I want to offset outward 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to use that vector to break up the distressing. So let's select the distress. And this outside vector last, trim, clearing inside the vector. There we go. Now I can delete that vector. I don't need it. And now I can create that toolpath on my distressed. Make sure nothing else is selected. I don't want this crack selected either. Now I can create that toolpath starting at 0.27, no flat area clearance tool, calculate, continue anyway, click OK. All right, now let's reset the preview and let's look at our distress. This one can get deleted. That was the last one that was a screw up. All right, so our skull raised, and our rest in peace, and our profile cut of the crack, which was our profile cutout, and our profile of the crack, which he's one of them. Let me find, where's he at? Profile 3, I believe, is him. Nope. There it is, profile 2. All right, let's preview those visible toolpaths. Let's reset this preview and preview the visible toolpaths and see what we end up with. There we go. You could throw some distressing on the edge there. You know, we already have that vector. If we wanted to distress any of the outer edge, you could put it around, but we already have that toolpath, which was, let's see, not that one, this one right here. We can preview that visible toolpath. We'll throw that in there, preview the visible toolpath, kind of beat up that side a little bit. And, you know, kind of just whatever. You know, so I think you guys get it, right? Fun stuff. The sign foam board, you would take 2 like tomato stakes or whatever, 2 stakes, stake poles, stick them in there just like a yard sign in your foam. Be careful. You got to remember where you stick your stakes. You know, try to go up the sides here because remember, this is all pocketed out in here. We don't want the stakes poking through, depending on how deep your pocket is, of course. But stakes, stick them in the ground. They'll stand up. You can make a little cemetery. Go to the garden center of Lowe's, buy some of that plastic white fencing, put a little of that little cheap, inexpensive picket fencing around it, beat up the picket fencing, whatever. And now you got a little graveyard, right? Fun stuff. You could do little sayings. You could VCarve little sayings. Here lies Jane. You know, I don't know. I'm not good at those kind of things. Here lies Louis, died at 44, shot with a 44, nothing less, nothing more. I don't know. But anyway, have all kinds of fun with it. And those are just fun, quick, and simple little tombstone projects, right? Now, I want to turn the tables a little bit, and I wanted to make a centerpiece of an actual wooden project that we got to assemble. We're going to make a pumpkin, okay, and everything, but we're going to have some different ribs. It's not going to be like a solid pumpkin. It's going to be round. Let's see if I can, we'll go File, Save As. And we'll just call this Tombstone and hit Save. Tombstone. And I could just sit here using the same template, different cracks and all. I could trace out the cracks and all, different designs. I could carve, text, or instead of rest in peace, I could put Johnny or Elvis or whatever, right? And just work off that one template. And you can knock these out very quickly. And on that sign foam, it cuts really nice. It cuts really well in things. And I'll even give you an example. The article of the gentleman that does these to make money. Let's see here. CNC Halloween projects. Let me pull up the picture. I'll kind of show you a before and after picture. And this is nutsandvolts.com, nutvolts.com. But let's take a, let's get over here. Let's close that out. And let's click on this. So here's a pretty cool before picture of, just a straight pocket cut, right? He's just pocket grooving in. He's got that tombstone. And then here is an after picture, and that's nutsandvolts.com. But here's the after picture after he did a little bit of decorative painting and stuff, right? Kind of gave it that old stone look and everything. Nuts and Volts magazine. Sorry, Nuts and Volts magazine. So, and that's just simple sign foam, right? And so a lot of cool and fun stuff. You want some inspiration, just type in CNC Halloween projects. And man, there's a whole page of all kinds of cool projects and all. But, this is that simple styrofoam from Home Depot, that pink styrofoam. He gets his in 2-inch thick. We're using 1-inch. If you want a little bit thicker, they do have it in 2-inch as well. It's like $28 for a sheet of 4x8. But play around with it, have some fun. He's even thrown in some looks like little lug bolts here, and stuff. No, it doesn't have to be perfect or pretty, right? It's a tombstone. It's a graveyard, an old scary graveyard for those kids. If y'all guys have any trick-or-treaters and all. Here's him. Here's a picture of him carving it on his CNC and things. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Nuts and Volts magazine. He's got some pretty good articles. So, so I'm using 1-inch thick, some tomato sticks, in the bottom, sticking in there. Steve asks a question. He says, Laney, if you add some 1/4-inch holes, you can use zip ties and wood pickets to secure it. Yep. And even also on the back side, you can even glue. There's adhesive that you can use with this foam insulation board, foam board adhesive that you can get. It's like a caulking, and you could even a wooden stake behind it. You can adhere a wooden stake behind it and stick it in the ground or anything like that. So yeah, all that stuff. That's good thinking, Steve. Crystal, you got detention for being tardy. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate you. All right, so very simple stuff. Now let's see if we can close out of this, and we're going to jump over to, you guys have heard me talk about SketchUp before, but we're going to jump over to SketchUp. And now I haven't drawn this yet or anything like that. So we're going to be drawing from scratch. It shouldn't take very long because I'm not going to kind of do it perfectly in SketchUp. I just want to kind of draw it out so you get the concept. So you can kind of get the idea, if that makes sense. So again, cracks vectors, right? Cracks vectors, a Google search for crack vectors. And make sure you put the word vectors in there or you're going to get crack. You might get drug paraphernalia pictures or plumber's crack or something like that. So crack vectors. That way it pulls up those vector images. We don't want no surprise photos coming up in your Google. All right, let's turn off our axes here and let's go into our Windows styles. And let's go with an engineering style. Right. Engineering style. There we go. Okay. All right. That gives me that white background and everything. Okay. So to start off with this, let's get into our camera view, standard camera view. Let's go the top view down. So we're going to have two circles. They are going to be, those circles are going to be a diameter, I would probably say 2 inches, maybe even 3-inch diameter. Here, let me look with my, real quick. So the bottom circle will be like a 4-inch diameter. No, we'll do them the same. Let's go with just a 4-inch diameter. So that is a 2-inch radius. So I'm going to hit 2 and hit enter. Let's try that again. 2, enter. And now let's zoom in. Where the hell did my circle go? All right, standard view. Let's go with a front view for a minute. And there's my circles. My little old circles were hiding way out in infinity there. Let's grab both of them real quick and we'll move them over closer to my line here. Where are you going there, buddy? We'll start off with this one. Let's get zoomed in. Okay. So that should be, if I look at if I measure this, I should have a 4-inch diameter. Yep, 4-inch diameter. Great. We're going to go with a push-pull tool. This is going to kind of extrude this part. And basically, this part's going to be like maybe 3/8 inch material, even 1/4 inch thick material. Whatever it is, just remember that because we're going to make notches on the parts that's going to go around it and everything. I'm going to go with 3/8 inch for right now. Okay. And I'm going to select that, triple click on it, and I'm going to hit the letter G for grouping that into a component. So that way it's one component now. And now I'm going to hold down my control key, hit my move tool, hold down my control key, and I'm going to drag a copy here. And this copy, I actually want to drag this copy up. So let's undo that. And let's get into a kind of a top view on this. Okay. And yeah, top view. It's kind of gray like everything else. But on this here, I'm going to move tool and I'm going to hold down my control key and I want to drag this up. and it's not a top view. It's a front view again, Lainey. Come on, front view. There we go. And I'm gonna hold down my control key and I'm gonna drag this up. Now, how tall I drag it up depends on how tall I want my pumpkin. And I want my pumpkin to be, I don't know, about 9 inches tall. So we'll go 9 and hit enter. Okay. So basically now we have 2 circles right on top of each other. Da, da, da. And now we're going to make ribs that are going to go around these circles. And so let me draw out one of those ribs. Let's see here. We know it's 9 inches, right? So 9 inch, it's got to be 9 inches tall. So I need a 9 inch. That's 4.5 inch diameter circle. These rib parts are going to be made out of, I'd probably say the same thickness material, maybe even 1/4 inch material or what have you, but let's go with the same thickness material. We'll go 3/8. All right, cool. Let's take on this circle, I want to cut a rib out of it. So let me draw a line. I need to find my midpoint. Where's my midpoint? Line there. All right, cool. Okay. And I'm going to select all of this side. Well, no, I'm not going to select all this side. I'm going to take this and I'm going to push pull that down to 0. Boom. All right. Now I need to offset. I'm in the move tool, not my. Sorry about that. I need to offset the edge inward. Let's say the ribs are going to be 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. Cool. And let's push pull this. All right, there's one of the ribs. All right, now we're going to select this and group it together as a component. And let's move this. And I want to rotate this part. Get back. Whoa. Get back. I want to rotate this part. Rotate. And I need to rotate it. Camera standard view. I need to rotate it. Let's go with a side view. Standard view, left side. There we go. I need to rotate this sucker this way. So from here to here, and I need to rotate it 90 degrees. Cool. All right, let's go back to our standard view front. And now I need to rotate it the other way. So Q for rotate, and let's start back here to here and twist this a little bit. Whoa. Where are you going? I want it to rotate. Needed to rotate on itself. There we go. About like, oh, dadgummit. Hold on a second. I almost had her. Let's go here, straight out, and tilt that back. That looks good. All right, move tool. Let's get that in there. All right, this guy, let's bring him down. I'm not even going to bother with trying to scale up my other guy. Oop, don't want to do that. Move tool. I'm not using any keyboard shortcuts, but all right, cool. So now let's see if we can wrap this bad boy around one of these circles. That's going to be fun. Can I do a follow me? Yes, I can. Standard view, top. Let's zoom in on this. All right, on this vector here, I need that circle. I need that circle size. It was 4-inch diameter, right? Cool. 4-inch diameter. All right. So let's draw a 4-inch diameter circle. I need to find my center. There we go. We're going to use that vector that I just drew. And I need my advanced tools. Where are they at? Follow me. So is this going to work there, boy? I don't know if that's going to work that way. Is it going to work for me? It might not work because it's overlapping. Daggum it. But anyway, let's see here. Let's try it. Tools. Follow me. All right. So I need to select my outside perimeter. Select the face to extrude. Oh, the follow me tool is not going to be the one that I need because that's an extrude tool. I don't want to do that. What I want is to control key, move. That's not going to do it. How? Oh, I wish this was a spire. I could just wrap it. I need to wrap this thing. Bear with me a second. Wrap. Push, pull, full offset. All right, SketchUp. You need a offset tool or a different following tool. Somebody would probably say, no, do it this way, and it'll do it just fine. And I don't know what it is right now, but anyway, these ribs. Gosh, I wish I could do this. Let's see here. Move tool. Rotate. All right, I'm gonna have to give you kind of a partial visual move. Okay, so imagine, if you will, imagine, if you will, these ribs going all the way around. They're going to be notched out, so there's going to be a notch on them, so they fit into these pieces. And this is going to be selected, but they're going to go all the way around. And to create that pumpkin, we're going to have a little part that's a little stem that'll get glued on there. We're going to cut out some triangles for little pumpkin eyes that'll get glued on these. And these ribs, they're not going to be as far apart as this, but they're going to be pretty close together. But they're going to go all the way around. And it's going to create this little centerpiece pumpkin. Now, Stepcraft, this is not my design by any means. Stepcraft did this in one of their projects. Shout out to Stepcraft. I have no problem with other people. But other CNCs, I love them. They're all good. We're all learning the same thing, but let's see here. Stepcraft did something like this. Let's see here. I know there's a picture of it because I got the inspiration. I said, oh, I want to do a class and teach people how to make those. Give me a second here. Stepcraft. Oh, there's another cool project. Little Halloween candy basket. I'm sorry, guys. Bear with me. I'm trying to find that darn beloved photo. Let's see. CNC Halloween pumpkin. Okay. Here's kind of an example. This isn't the Stepcraft one, but it'll work as the image. Let's pull that over here. This is from Make CNC, makecnc.com. If you guys have never been to makecnc.com, check them out. They got all kinds of cool little 3D puzzles. But this jack-o'-lantern, as soon as I click on it, right here. Okay, so basically, this is what we're going to be creating, right? You know, you can put a candle in the middle of it. You can just have it sit on your dining room table, paint it orange. The one from Stepcraft was painted. It looked pretty cool. But very simple, kind of almost like a puzzle piece assembled together. But we're going to carve out all the parts, all the ribs, all the way around, the little stem, the little eyes, the little mouth, all that wonderful jazz. And that's what we're making next. That's what we're going to design now. That's what I was trying to draw in SketchUp, and I should have just not wasted time because I thought I could wrap those around, but I can't. So let's get out of here and let's go back into VCarve Pro. Multiple offsets. Yeah, if I was in Vectric software, I could have done it, but I can't get that three-dimensional view. If I was in Aspire, I could have done it. I could have wrapped it easily, but multiple offsets. Is it multiple offsets, Blue Knight? Is that what you were telling me in SketchUp? Cool. All right, so now this is going to get cut out of like, depends on how thick you want your pieces to be. It could be 1/4-inch material. It could be plywood material and painted. If you wanted to use hardwood, you could, but we're going to cut all the parts out of, you know, one sheet. Now for smaller CNCs and things, I'm going to stick with kind of an 18 by 18 square sheet. And let's go with let's go with a 1/4-inch thick material, so that way it's a good known number. Working off the material surface for the Z0, I'll start from the bottom left. All right, let's go ahead and draw the parts out. Now I can draw the parts in 2D much better than I can in 3D. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with our circles. These are going to be 4-inch diameter. You can make them smaller now, and we may end up making them smaller than 4-inch, but we're going to start with 4-inch diameter. I'll make a copy of this in a minute, but first I need to make my notches. Now we're going to have a, let's get this here centered on our board. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to create the little notches. We're going to use a rectangle, and our notches, our material is going to be 1/4-inch thick, right? So our notches are going to be 1/4-inch. So they're going to be 0.25. As far as the length, I don't think they need to be very deep. Let's go with 3/16. Just go with 3/16. And square corners. There we go. All right, cool. All right, let's get this centered from left to right. There we go. And we're going to make this a little bit longer for the purpose. But as far as depth, I only want to go 3/8. So let's get a guideline down here just for the minute, for a moment. And we're going to create a relative distance down. That's negative 0.1875. Create that guideline. And that'll tell me where I got to move this guy to. Okay. Once again, now that I have those guidelines or got it where I want it, perfect. That's good. We're going to make sure it's centered again, left to right. It is. Now, I want to rotate this around this vector. Okay. I want to rotate this guy around this vector a certain amount of times. And you can use the circle tool if you're on the center of your board here. But I'm going to use the copy along vector tool just in case you're kind of out in the field somewhere or whatever. So I want to copy this object around this vector. And I want how many ribs I want to cross here. I'm going to say probably 15. Let's go 15. Okay. And that looks like a good spacing of the ribs. 15 around. Let's look if 20. Just a little bit. All right, yeah, let's go with 20 of them. I like that. All right, so now now that we have that and everything, this guy needs to go away. All right, so now that we have that, they are centered on. And just to make sure they're all in the right place, I'm going to offset this circle inward 0.1875. And these aligned on the center. So most likely I'm not going to be right on my mark because my part here when I started was not 3/8 inches tall. It was just some random number. Okay. And everything. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to undo this and I'm going to size this appropriately. It needs to be 1/4 inch wide and I'm going to go 3/8, 0.375 because half of 3/8 is 3/16. So we're going to do that. And this, by the way, does not even have to be on the vector. It can be off it like that. I can select this here, and we can go follow, copy along vectors. You guys doing okay? 20 copies. There we go. And if I offset this circle now inward, that 3/16, they should all land at the bottom, sort of like that. Cool beans, right? Cool. All right. So now I need to come in here with my circle tool and I've got to trim these little notches or not my circle tool, but my trim tool. I'm going to trim my little notches here. Okay. So we're just quickly going to go around quickly. I want this to be, we've been at this 1 hour and 53 minutes. I want to try to end this 2.5 hours. I want to go too much more than 30 more minutes. All right, zoom in when you want to trim, and I'll answer you guys' questions. Let me just get this one trimmed. Okay, all right, trimmed. Oh, what happened up there? What happened up there? Where'd you go? All right, that's no problem. 0.25 by 3/8. Snap that to the center at the top of my circle there. Let's make sure I'm centered from left to right. Align left to right. There we go. and trim. There we go. Okay. So now I've got my sprocket. I need 2 of these. Okay. So I'm going to hold down my control key and just drag off a second copy. So here's those 2 parts there. Awesome. All right. Let's answer a couple of quick questions. What CNC do you have, Lainey? I have a Shapeoko XXL. I have a digital wood carver. A digital wood carver 2440. I work for digital wood carver. So I have a digital wood carver 2440. Let's see here. Okay, so I got my 2 parts. This is going to be our bottom and our top. And again, if we need to resize this, I think 4 inch is going to be good. A 4-inch diameter is going to be, or 4-inch diameter for the top and bottom. But in that picture from Design and Make, they were smaller. They were much smaller. It looked me, but I think 4 inch will be good top and bottom. If not, resize them. You know how to make them. All right, now my ribs, those ribs, it all depends on how tall I want my pumpkin to be, right? So let's say I want my pumpkin to be 10.5 inches tall. We'll stick with that, 10.5 inches. I'm going to go into node editing. I'm going to cut the vector here and here. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay. Now, these parts, as far as the ribs, how wide I want them to be, I believe I'm going to, this is going to be my center line, by the way, my center line. I believe I'm going to want them to be maybe 3/8 thick, as far as they're going to be 1/4 inch thick, but 3/8 wide. So let's go offset in both directions, 0.1875. Let me see here. That looks, well, no, these are going to be 1/4 inch thick. So I need to go at least 1/4. All right, let's go 1/2 inch. So let's delete those and let's do that again. Either 1/2 inch or 0.625, either one, but let's go 1/2 inch. Okay. This needs to be 1/4 because I'm doing it in both directions. Yeah, that'll be good. So this should be 1/2 inch wide here. And if I were to measure that, vertically from here to here, close enough. 1/2 inch. Yeah. It would be 1/2 inch if I snapped my lines. Close enough. So that'll work. All right, cool. Now, the center line is not going to be used here, guys. But what I do need, what's very important is that, I'm cutting off here. This is where I'm starting to peak. And I need a little bit of a straight line coming out here. I want this to curve and then almost kind of flatten into this. Maybe not. I was kind of thinking I want to extend this out just a little bit. And I do. I want to, all right, so I'm going to draw a line from here to here. And I'm going to use that line and I'm going to move it outward. I want to kind of go outward. Remember, these are 3/16 of an inch deep right here. I want to move it outward an extra eighth of an inch. So let's move to the right relative to its position. So that's X positive. I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to go 3/16 of an inch. There we go. And I'm going to use my extend tool. And I'm going to extend this line to here and this line to here. This line to here, this line to here. I don't need my center line. My center line is just a center line. If you wanted to, you could, right? If you want to keep your vectors the same, no big deal, right? It's not going to hurt anything. But what I do want to do now is I want to trim this away and to create my piece. And I want to join these outside vectors together, join them as one closed vector. All right, cool. Now I need to make my notch here. So remember, I've got these discs at the top and the bottom, and these discs are 1/4 inch thick, right? Let's make sure we size that correctly. 0.25. Okay. And so these discs, you know, they're going to be, we're going to have a kind of a pocket here to where this notch that we're going to cut in here fits into this notch. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is on this guy right here is I'm going to not do that. I'm going to grab him and I'm going to snap the center right to my center line there. Okay. And then I'm just going to use my right arrow key and I'm going to back up. Just very quickly back up. And I'm going to kind of get right on the line. And I want my notch, this notch here, to be 3/16. So I'm going to move this object now to the left, which is a negative number, 0.1875. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to draw a center line here. You'll see why in just a second. I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to find the center and draw a line. And if you have your smart snapping on and your geometry snapping, you'll be able to snap to things pretty quickly. So if you have these turned off, you're doing yourself a disservice. Turn these on. If you have smart, if you're in version, I think 9.5 and introduce smart snapping and geometry snapping, if you're in that or later, make sure those are turned on. Those are turned on. Now I'm going to take this shape here and I'm going to Control C, Control V, basically copy and paste it. And now that copy is selected. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and grab this line, and I'm going to mirror this part by flipping it about that line. Okay, so that way it puts the copy down here on that end. All right, cool beans. Now I'm just going to take my scissor tool here, and I'm going to trim. Let's get rid of that copy. And let's get rid of our center line now. Don't need that for right now. And I'm just going to trim this away and make sure I was running there. Don't get that little notch there. So there's my one notch there. Trim this away. There's my little notch there. Now, these parts are going to be CNC cut, right? They're going to be cut out. And this notch is only 1/4 inch. Okay. So a 1/4 inch bit is going to try to fit in here. It will fit, but we don't want to try to fit it in there. You would use like an 1/8 inch end mill to cut these parts out. And so now we need that bit. So this part fits nice and flush up against this part when they're, assembled together, kind of glued together, locked together, whatever. We need a place for that router bit to escape. So we end up with a flat surface here. Because if that router bit comes and cuts, let's imagine, I have the hiccups. Let's imagine an 1/8 inch bit. Okay. When that bit comes and does this profile cut and it comes to do this inside cut here, we're going to end up with a radius on this inside cut instead of a nice sharp kind of corner, right? So we need to create fillets, dog bone fillets on these parts so they kind of can fit together. And for those of you that don't know what a fillet is, there's a normal fillet, which basically puts a, let's imagine, if you will, it puts a nice little radius on a square corner. Okay. But there's what's called dog bone fillets and T-bone fillets as well. A dog bone fillets is used to create internal clearance and internal corners right here when two slotted pieces are going to fit together. And that's what we have. We have two slotted pieces that are going to fit together. All right. Now, a T-bone fillet is used when the slot that we're kind of cutting, the clearance basically in the internal corners is the same size as the tool we're using. So if I was using a 1/4 inch bit, then I would want to use a T-bone fillet because I would need to kind of have a place for that bit to escape, right? But in this case, I'm using an 1/8 inch bit, so my radius is a 1/16, and I want to use a dog bone fillet, and I want to throw a couple of fillets there, okay, on that part. Same thing down here. All right. And the same thing on every single one of these internal parts. Now, you know darn well I'm only going to do one and make a copy of it. So we'll delete this copy and we'll make a new copy. But we're going to make fillets so that the router bit can cut these parts out and fit in there and everything. And then the parts or the pieces are still going to fit together. All right. Cool. Hopefully you guys are along with me. Popping up where, you know, you can put a dog bone fillet on those sharp corners. Right. And it's only the inside corners that we need to dog bone fillet. All right, cool. So we've got that part. Let's get rid of this. Delete. Select this. Double click on it to put it in transform mode. Hold down that control key and just drag our copy off. So now we got a copy of it, right? No sense in drawing what you can copy. Now on this guy, this part here, we need 20 of those to fit around into that part, right? We need 20 of these. So I'm just going to drag this off here for right now. And I'm just going to use my copy array tool. And I need, we'll go 4 rows, 5 copies. 4 times 5 is 20, I hope, still these days, right? 4 times 5 is 20. We're going to, I don't care really what the gap is in between them, but let's do it anyway. We'll do a gap of 1/2 inch apart. And let's a little bit more gap on the Y here, 5 as well. So that way they're not overlapping each other, because we're going to end up nesting on our material. We're going to end up nesting on our material. I'm still frozen. Steve froze. Did I pick up? Am I still frozen? Screen moving for you guys? Let me know. So we got our upper lower part. We got our 20 piece here. Draw out our stem and our eye stuff. So the stem, you can have a little bit of creativeness with that, right? However you want the stem to be and everything. I'm going to go to knitting. And I'm going to turn this into a Bezier curve. Pull this bottom out, bottom to be kind of tight. I'm going to glue it on there. And I'm just going to curve this in. Let's pull this out. Curve this like this. Let's go with a little bit of an angle here. And turn this into a Bezier curve. Just kind of get a little bit of curvature to it. Whatever it might be, whatever shape you want for your stem. Let's go with a rounded top stem. So I'm going to turn that into an arch. And maybe a Bezier curve, not an arch. Bezier curve, so I can kind of shape it myself. There we go. So that will be my stem part. Now I want to make sure it's the right size, right? So I'm looking at the width. The widest part is this base here. And so the width right now is 2 inches and it's 4 inches tall. Well, I do not need a 4-inch tall stem. My diameters here are only 4 inches. So, 2 inches, a little bit wide. So let's narrow that down some. Let's go with, on the height, I'm going to go about 2.5 inches, 2.5. Click apply. That'll give me about 1 inch and 1/8, 1.25 inches here. And that's fine. And that's going to be cut out of 1/4 inch material also. So that will be our stem. Okay. And then let's create some eyes. Now the eyes you can kind of get creative with. They don't have to be triangles like you saw in that picture and stuff. They could be, triangle pumpkin eyes if you want. Let's offset that inward, but they can be whatever shape you want, they can be whatever shape you want. Now, on the inside here, okay. Now, one of the things that you would see, that you would have seen on that pumpkin, on that picture that I showed you of that pumpkin, is on a few of these stems going around, they actually have notches on them, and the eyes and stuff had notches in the middle, and they kind of snapped together. And we could do that too, but without actually assembling my pumpkin and things. Well, I actually do know how. I actually could guess how far apart they are on the eyes and everything by using this here. I am, so basically what I'm looking at here is if one side of this, remember one side of our pumpkin, and remember these are the radius, the size of these right here. If we look at this, these bad boys are a width of about 5 9/16. No, that's not 9/16. Sorry, 5 11/16, roughly. So the total diameter of this pumpkin all the way around, you're gonna be around 11 and some change inches, right? And so imagine, if you will, let's just kind of visualize this. Let's draw a circle here. Okay. And imagine this is, we're looking at a top view down of our pumpkin, and we've got our, our 4-inch radius kind of little disc in there, and the pumpkin's going around. We have our little stem on there, whatever. But we're going to have, on these eyes, you'd have, one eye on one rib, one eye on the other. So you have proper spacing, and we got to determine which 2 ribs those would be. And also the mouth, we got to think about the mouth and how that's going to snap together, and even a nose or what have you. Does pumpkins have noses? I didn't see if that pumpkin had a nose. It might have a triangle nose, but we got to think about that if we're going to want them to snap in, because we got to draw out the little rib, where it's going to snap and stuff. And then we got to draw the part that it snaps into. So let's think about this real quick. If I do this, if I draw a line, straight up. And I take that line and rotate it around the center. What's the center here? Center. Okay, that should be my center right there. If I take my line here, and oh, here, this will be much easier if I do this. Center on my material. Okay, now I know where the center that is. All right, if I take my line here and wrap it around, the center of my 18 by 18 is 9 by 9. There we go. Killing me there. There we go. All right, one more time. Come on, Lenny, you can do this. I want to wrap that around 9 by 9 for my center. And I want to go around 360 degrees. I want to go around 20 times, 20 copies. And I should, if I did it right, I should end up in the center of each one of those groups. Right? Cool. Okay. So now, let's move this eye out of the way for a minute. Now I can determine, like I can kind of get a visual, like I'm looking at the top down at my ribs and everything. And, you know, these lines, if I undo that, let's say that I want my line to be from this edge here, it's 5 inches, remember? So my line height currently right now is 3 inches from the center. That's a 4-inch diameter, so it's 1 inch. Let's go, I'm just going to go 6 inches. Okay, cool. And let me wrap that around again. 9 by 9. 20 copies around. There we go. All right. So this would be my pumpkin. Again, let's move that triangle out of the way. This would be my pumpkin in a top-down view, in a sense. Okay. So now I can see on my ribs how far apart I want my eyes, and then the mouth and everything. So on this, I don't want them to be too far apart. I don't want like an eye way over here and an eye way over here. I think the eyes have it. I think the eyes are going to be going on the 2 closest ones, not counting that middle one. Yeah, this middle one is where the nose is going to go. So we're going to have a notch for the nose. Then there is going to be a nose, a triangle nose. And then these 2 right here are going to be where the eyes are. And then the mouth is also going to snap to them too. So we need notches at the top part where the eyes are going to sit on 2 of them. Going to have notches on the top and the lower part where the mouth is going to snap to. And then 1 by itself is going to have a notch in the middle where the nose goes. All right, so let's do that. And this will make sense here in a moment. All right, let's move this back out of the way. And I need to hurry up. We're getting into 2 hours and 19 minutes. Let's get her done. All right, on the eyes. So my pumpkin is going to stand roughly 10 inches tall. I believe that's what my size is. About 11 inches tall, roughly. So the eyes, I don't need them that big. They need to be probably about one inch, 1.25 maybe, if that. 1.25 inch. Let me see here. Now let's go 2 inches on the eyes. On the eyes, 2 inches. We'll go 1.25 on the nose. Let's go. Let's go 2 inches tall. Okay. And I need 2 of those. But before I make my copy of it, I need to draw in the center of the eye. We're going to draw a notch. Now, remember, our wood pieces are 1/4 inch. So it's going to be snapping on one of those little nubs on the quarter and everything. So our notch here has to be at least 1/4 inch wide, 0.25 inches wide. And as far as the height, that depends on how big we want our slots to be. And I think I'm only going to go 3/8 inch tall on that notch. And I need this thing in the center of this triangle. So I'm going to hold down that triangle last, or hold down my shift key and select that triangle last and left to right. So I'm centered. And then basically where this notch is, it's almost kind of like where the pupil is going to be, where the pupil is going to be and stuff. So do I really want it in the center, or do I want it kind of down lower a little bit? You know, almost. It all depends on, what would look like with the eye. Now, again, with this guy right here, there's going to be a slotted piece that fits into this, and that slotted piece is going to be, kind of a square slotted piece. And so I need to create fillets on this cut here. And I'm going to be using an 1/8 inch end mill. So I'm going to have a little fillet here for that part to snap in. And so now I want to go ahead and hold down my control key, and now I've got the 2 eyes. Okay, and we'll just lay this out like it's the face here. Now, as far as the nose is going to be a triangle also, and it's going to be about 1 inch tall. Yeah. Something about like that. And let's group these 2 together real quick just for a temporary moment. Select this first, select this group last, align left and right. There we go. So it's centered. Now I'm going to steal one of these, Control C, Control V, and I'm going to move that down there because it's already the perfect size where it needs to be. And that'll be fine for the center. So there's going to be my eyes. And again, you can get creative. Your noses don't have to be simple triangular shapes. They could be whatever. You can make actual eyeballs. You can make googly eyes, little round oval shape eyes, because you're going to probably paint this and decorate it and stuff. Now the mouth could be pretty much whatever you want it to be. In this case, or in the case of that, the sample picture, it was kind of a zigzag kind of mouth, pumpkin mouth or what have you. Let's see here. And it could be whatever you want it to be. And let's go with a Control C, or no, just double click on this and go Control. I'm going to pull this down like this. And we'll give them a big mouth. There we go. And I'm going to use my extend tool, and I'm going to extend. No, I don't think my extend tool will work for me on this one. Let me find out. Extend from here to here. No. All right, so I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm just going to close that off. I don't know why I clicked way up there, but we'll trim that up. And I'll just join this together with a straight line. Okay, that'll be my funky, fugly pumpkin. Again, you guys be more creative. You know, we could do a round, we could draw teeth in there. It doesn't have to be. As a matter of fact, let's do that. Let's be creative real quick. That's so stupid. Let's go. I want him to have a kind of an ovular shaped mouth. Might even change his nose shapes, but let's draw some teeth in there. Now, I'm from Ocala, Florida, so my pumpkin's going to be missing a few teeth. Let's see here. We'll draw that out long like that. Let's give him a set of buck teeth here. Oops, I held the wrong key down. That was supposed to be my control key. All right, let's take these two guys, group them together. Let's hold down our ovals or shift key, select our oval last, and align left to right to center them up. I'm going to go a little bit overlap there, a little bit of an overlap there. And these two teeth here, let's make them just a little bit wider and a little bit longer. You'll see what I'm going to do here. The reason why I'm creating these overlaps is because this is all going to be kind of, you know, cut out. And I don't want them square. I want to round them up. So I'm not done with them yet, but we're going to just do some trimming, you know, on this. And we're going to shape these to fit. This is going to be like a little pocket cut, what have you. Anyway, you'll see in just a second. Let's create some radiuses. We're going to do fillets this time, but a normal fillet. And let's go with a 1/4 inch, 0.25. Okay, we got to make it smaller for these smaller upper teeth. So let's go 125. Oh, they're grouped together. Never mind. They could have stayed a 1/4 inch, but they're grouped together. Got to ungroup them. You can't put fillets on a group, Laney. All right, let's. Okay. And let's see here on his. If we select. I want to cut all of this out, leaving just the teeth. So it's going to be a big old pocket cut. So I need a little bit of a rim. I need something. This is going to be hollow in here, except for the buck teeth. Or is it going to be hollow? Maybe it'll be just a pocket cut with these raised up. All right, let's do some trimming real quick. Trim, 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 trim. All right, let's take this oval, and I probably should have offset it before I trimmed it, but that's okay. All right. So this is going to get cut out of kind of a profile cut. That'll be the shape. Then this is going to be pocketed out in here. He's going to have these 3 teeth. Anyway, so now I need my, my ribs. So imagine, if you will, this is going to connect to 2 of the ribs, but this doesn't bend, right? Those are wrapping around in a radius. They don't bend. So I'd almost have to kind of cut these so that one can fit on one rib and one on the other, on those 2 outer ribs, same place as these, where these are going to go. But I kind of want one whole mouth. So I'm just going to create one place, and it's going to fit on that center rib right under the nose. So the nose is the center rib is going to have an upper and a lower notch that we're going to draw on it here. And then the eyes, are the other 2 ribs are going to have just one notch where the eyes are going to go. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to throw this, the spacing between where those 2 notches is very important when it comes to the nose and the mouth, and everything, really the whole thing. But let's throw this right here. Now here's the kicker. Hey, Lainey, you just said you're hollowing that out. We're not going to hollow it out. We're going to hollow it out, but we're not going to cut it all the way through. It's going to be a pocket, so we'll have a little pocket. And that way I can paint the mouth black. So that's good. We'll leave that there. Now, the measurement, you guys with me? Are y'all following along? Have y'all went to sleep yet? Are y'all still there? You still there? Oh, guys. I'm still here too. We're almost done. The measurement, vertical measurement from the center of this notch to the center of this notch is 2.70 inches. Well, let's get a little bit more precise, so we can kind of not have to deal with fractions and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. So from the center of this notch here, I'm going to create a relative guideline up, and I'm going to go 2.625, 2 5/8, create new guide. And that creates that guide there. And so on my nose, I don't mind dropping the nose down a little bit. I don't want to get too close to the mouth. So I'd much rather drop the notch down. Like that. And as far as the nose goes, real quick, let's do a little bit of node editing. I'm going to go with a Bezier curve here, and let's kind of give him a bit of a schnoz. And might as well do it upright if we're going to do it. Let's go here. Roughly about, hold down that control key, not the shift key, the control key, right about there and there. All right, let's take our scissor tool and trim. Take our fillet tool. Let's round off some of these. 16th of an inch, 0.0625. Too many decimal points. 0.0625, 16th of an inch. Kind of round that up. Let's give these little internal cuts here a little bit around this. All right. So that's going to be my pumpkin's nose. All right. You get it. Anyway, it's not going to be the prettiest pumpkin, but it'll do. You can dress it up. If you want your pumpkin to have flowers for noses, you can do that. All right. The eyes have it. I don't know what I want to do with the eyes. I think I'm just going to radius them off. I'll just keep them triangle. I'm not going to do anything crazy. If I come up with a better set of eyes or something, I'll do that. You guys be creative. You don't have to be like me and be goofy looking or whatever. But these are going to be my 3 parts. So I want to group each of these eyes together, and the nose and the mouth, because they all have internal parts. And remember what my measurement was. My measurement from here to here, because that spacing, I got to draw those notches on the part here in just a second. So it's very important that from here to here that our notches are 2 5/8 inches apart. Okay, center to center of those notches that we're going to create. But now that we have those parts drawn, we can, move those aside, because we're going to nest all of these parts on our material. And we had to group these together because they have internal pieces as well. So they all have internal parts. So we had to group them together as one. So they're all going to get nested together. When I say group, they're going to get nested to minimize the waste on my material. And it's going to take probably a couple of these boards, but we'll get through it. All right, now I need 3 ribs. 2 of the ribs are going to have a notch kind of high where the eyes are, where the eyes will snap on. And then one of the ribs is going to have a notch where the nose goes. And then 2 5/8 inches down, it's going to have another notch where that snaps into. So, and since these are rounded, it's kind of tricky. Imagine, if you will, on my pumpkin here, that the eyes are about this level here. The nose, say probably about that level there. And then the mouth parts, which, it's kind of the center of this. And again, it's got to be 2 5/8 inches away. So if I make a relative guide to this one, going down, it's a negative number, negative 2 5/8. Okay. That tells me where the notch for my mouth needs to be. Okay. Based on this part right here. And that's fine, because I can, once I get the notches drawn in how I want, I can duplicate this thing. I can copy and paste 3 of them and I'm good. Now, 2 of them are only going to have the notch here where the eyes are. So let's go ahead and get that drawn in. We're going to start off with a rectangle. Remember, our part, this guy right here, the notch has got to fit in the middle of this part right here. And that part is a 1/4 inch wide by hold on, I got to click on the right spot, by 3/8. Should be 3/8, 0.375. And it's a 1/4 inch wide, which is the size of my material. Okay. So by 3/8. So this guy here, we're looking at a side view now. It's already going to be a 1/4 inch wide because that's how thick my material is, right? So what's important to me is the 3/8 of an inch height. Okay. That's what's important to me, is the 3/8 of an inch height. So we're going to size that, and it needs to be 0.375. Okay. Now, this is going to be, it's got to stick out far enough that my eyes, they're a 1/4 inch thick, that they can snap on to it, right? So it needs to at least be sticking out from the rib by a 1/4 of an inch and everything. And remember, we have these arches and all. So imagine I'll draw just a line. Imagine our eyes are straight up and down. Here, hold on. Let's do it. Let's do it a little better. Imagine our eyes are straight up and down. They're a triangular shape, although we're looking at a side view here. And they are 2 inches tall, I think they were. How tall are my eyes? They are 1 15/16. So close enough to 2 inches. So let's do our little imagination here. 1.9375. And they are 1/4 inch thick material. You can even do them in 1/8 inch. That's fine, you know, what have you. And now the notches are down low, right? The notches are down low. So if I were to measure, and let's get rid of these measurements here. Let's close that tool again. Delete. If I were to measure from the bottom of my eyeball to the center of my part here, and it's got to be a vertical measurement. .47574. Let me think. Sorry, I got quiet on you guys there. We're going to move these. Let's ungroup these real quick. Ungroup. We're going to move these down just a little bit. 0.475 is fine, but I don't want to be that 7.4 in there. But we're going to move them down. Move relative to its position on the Y. It's a negative number, and we're going to move down 0.00074. And hardly moved at all. And if I were to measure now, from this line to the center of this part, I should be at 0.475. Okay, good. It's a number I can work with. So back over here, and somebody had a question about the eyes. Should be taller so you can put stops on them to keep eyes flat. Should be taller so you can put stops on them to keep eyes flat. What should be taller there, bud? Let me know what should be taller. All right, so from the bottom of my part here, okay, if I go from the center there, if I move this part down 0.475, and that was a positive number. It needs to be a negative number, negative 0.475. Okay. Roughly right here is about where my eyes are going to be. So I want to move them out because they're not going to be, they're going to, you know, be like out here. And so my notch has to be able to, you know, snap in, and we'll have the eyes closer. So they'll go right to the part, basically. Something about like that. And this part is going to be basically, you know, when it's pressed in there, it's going to be flush with that. So then this area has to get trimmed out there. All right, cool. And then I can take my scissor tool here and I can trim that away. Okay, to create that notch. Now, when that router is coming in to cut these inside corners here and everything, I need to put a fillet here on these inside corners. So when this piece slides on, I don't have any radiuses here stopping it from sliding on flush. So I'm going to be using a dog bone fillet, and I need to, on my part, here, I need to create that fillet there. So let's make sure I'm using an 1/8 inch end mill to cut this out. So a 1/16 inch dog bone fillet. Now, is this part grouped together with others? No, it's not grouped. Okay. So now I'm not getting a check mark that saying that, hey, I can dog bone fillet that, because there's just not enough room. So in this case, I may have to use a T-bone fillet. And oh wait, it might not fillet while it's off the board. Let me get it on the board. F9. There we go. Okay. Are you going to let me fillet you? You going to let me fillet you? Are you a closed vector? Yep, it's a closed vector. Are you not going to let me fillet you? Okay, it's not going to let me fillet it. Might have to rethink that. Let me see why it's not letting me fillet it. 0.125. This is going to be the bit cutting the part out. It should let me fillet that. I don't know why it's not, but that's okay. What I can do is figure out where my router bit is going to go to. Snap to, come on, snap to that line. Snap to that line. All right, so in order to fillet this, the router bit, it's not a kind of, it's a, I don't know why that one's not filling. I can understand why this one's not, but that's okay. I can just create a place for my router bit to go. So I should be able to come right about here and trim that away to create that internal notch. I can live with that. And here, again, I'm not sure why it wouldn't fillet this upper corner, but that's okay. I can deal with it. We'll hold down my control key and micro step over to there. So that's where it's going to intersect there and there. My bit's got to be able to fit into the groove so I can deal with that. All right. And so that would be those two internal notches. Now my bit should be able to travel up, and let's find out. It should be able to travel up and it should fit. Let me find out if it's going to fit. If not, I got to change my spacing here. Okay, it's not going to fit there. So I got to adjust. I've got to adjust. Come on now. Oops, don't do that. Okay, my bit should be able to fit in there now. Oh, you son of you pain in the ass. I'm going to node edit this one just a little bit. I don't want to node edit it. I need to keep my shape. Oh, you son of a gun. I can fix that. Hold on a second. Now will you let me fillet you? No. How about a normal fillet? You gonna let me do a normal fillet? There we go. That'll work. Okay. That'll work. That'll work just fine. Okay. All right. So there's my eyes. Man, that was a waste. That was a long time. Okay. Now, if you recall on these guidelines here, I said, you know, my eyes were going to go right about here. My nose. And then the mouth was actually 2 5/8 inches away. There. Okay. So 2 of these ribs are going to have just the eyes. Okay. So on this, hold down my control key down, and I'm going to drag down 1, 2 of them. They're done. Okay. Oops. Okay, so those 2 are done. So that means that I can eliminate 2 from here. Okay, these are going to be the 2 that take its place. Okay. And one of these, oops, where'd my nose go? There we go. All right. Now, since I'm going to have to do the same thing as I did here, down here, I'm almost, no, I'm not going to do that. 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch tall, 0.375. And the length I'm not worried about. This is going to snap to the center here. Okay. Now, how far it sticks out is important because, again, I've got that, you know, my nose is also that 1/4 inch piece, right? And when I press it on to that part, you know, it's going to come close, but, you know, you can even have it press up against it, whatever the case may be, but that's good enough for me right there. And so now I can move that out of the way and I can trim that to create that notch. And let's see if my dog bone fillets work for me this time. No, of course not. And I didn't want to do it on this one anyway. I'm an idiot. Hold on a second. I need a fresh one. I just copied another one over to this part here. Okay, so I have a fresh one where that is. And now I want to trim this one up. All right, so once again, it's not going to let me fill it. That's a shame. It's an inside corner, Hoss. I don't know why you're not. Unless I use a 16th inch bit and use a 32nd inch radius, that would let me fillet it. But I don't want to use a 16th inch bit. I want to use my 1/8. So I'm just going to have to grin and bear it. And I'm going to have to manually create my fillets. I only have 2 to do. So my bit has got to be able to come and fit. You know, when it cuts down this profile and everything, it's got to be able to fit into that hole. So let me so somewhere right about here and here, I need to be able to kind of fill that. So I'm gonna hold down my control key while I got that's in position, and I'm gonna drag this out to here. And my bit should be able to fit in there. If it were cutting across, it should be able to fit in there. And if not, that's okay. We're going to... Are you going to let me fillet you? Normal fillet. Normal fillet. There we go. All right. So a little notch there. Almost done, guys. I swear we're almost there. Now, this is pretty much centered here. So I'm actually going to cheat on this one. I'm going to draw a line right here. I'm going to go into node editing mode. And I'm going to cut that vector right here. And cut that vector right here. And I'm going to have that vector selected right there. Have my line selected. And I'm going to flip it about that line. Oh, that didn't work like I thought it was going to do. All right, never mind. I'm not going to do that. I thought I was going to luck out. All right, that's okay. We'll move it over here. It did not work out like I thought it was going to, but that's all right. All right, so this, I want to fit this edge up against here. I want to fit this edge up against here. Make sure that I'm overlap. Cool. Hold down my control key, drag this up to about my center point. It doesn't have to be very far. And trim normal fillet here and here. And there we go. Okay. So that's going to be our nose notch. You guys doing all right? Anybody, do you need those? The bit will go right around. Yeah, I do need those because I need this. This is a square peg and a square hole. On my nose parts here, this is going to be a square peg minus these round parts here, but it's flat edges, and also it's going to be a square peg fitting inside this hole. And so this 3/8 inch part, 1/4 inch thick, because that's how thick my material is that I'm cutting them out of, is going to fit right into that square. I don't want to have to round off anything. And so it's going to fit flush in there. So I need my bit to escape, because otherwise my radius would be out here somewhere, and it would not, that part would not be able to come in and fit flush up against the front of the, you know, the part where I want it. Right. And just notice something. Let me go into node editing mode. I want to bump these two out just a little bit. Right there we go. So I need that square part to be able to fit right on. So I need that fillet. Okay. All right. Now, where the mouth is, again, that funky old mouth. Let me get out of node editing mode here. Okay, where the mouth is from the, now I could, somebody said, hey, put that up in the middle between the teeth. I could do that. That would bring things a little closer there. Let's ungroup. Let me see if it'll fit between the teeth. If not, I have to move the teeth over. Align. The center. Could put it right in there between the teeth. Yeah. All right. So that changes my measurement. Let me measure the new center to center. .51026. Let's move this a little bit more. I'm going to go 1.5. So I need to move it up. Move relative to its position on the Y. It's a positive number because it's going up. 0.01026. Move that up. And that should give me a 1.5 inch distance from center to center, 1.5 inches. Okay, cool. So that means this guideline can get deleted. And from this guideline here, which is at the, I think it's still at the center of my part. It is. Is it? Hold on a minute. Now it is. Relative position negative. It's going down. Negative 1.5. Create. All right, and that's where my next peg is going to go. And again, my part is going to be, you know, kind of something like this and everything. And so let's get a little bit closer. So my little notch, 3/8 of an inch wide notch, 3/8 tall, 0.375. Okay. Let's get it centered on the line. It is. And so that should be good. Let's pull it out a little bit here so it's flush. All right. Let's get our rectangle out of the way. And finally, we can trim. Might as well just, I know it's not going to do it, but might as well give it a shot. Let's see. No and no. Why are you not doing that? That's kicking my butt. But it's not going to do it because it's, it would do it here, but those corners are too steep in both a positive or a negative direction, obtuse or. All right, so let's do this again. 1/8 inch diameter bit very quickly. And let's hold down our shift key and get that lined right up on that line where the right side of that bit would be cutting. Over here, let's move over. Okay, I'm going to hold down my control key and drag a copy of that down. Roughly about like that. And oop. And then normal fillet. Oops. Here and there. Okay. And last but not least, thank goodness everybody says, thank goodness, thank goodness. Thanks for sticking with me, you happy few. Y'all are probably watching the debate. Keep an eye on that debate, see what's going on. All right. One more time. Control key. Let's drag this out. About there. Trim, trim, trim. Okay. That's good. I don't even think I need to normal fillet these, but we will. There we go. All right, so I need one of these. So I got one of those. That's good. All right. Now let's delete all of our guidelines. View guidelines, delete all guides. And we have our parts. We should have a total of 20 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Where am I missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. How'd I get rid of one? That's all right. $20. Nope. I didn't know. 20. Okay, so we got all 20. All right, this circle doesn't apply. That's nothing. Let's get rid of that. All right, all these things should be still grouped together. If they're not, we need to group them together. So group that one. All the ones with inner vectors need to be grouped. That one's already grouped. This one needs to be grouped. Okay, great. And now we're going to nest. We're going to select all of our vectors. Nesting. Tool diameter, I'm going to be using an 1/8 inch end mill to cut these parts out. As far as clearance, let's go 0.3 inch clearance. Border gap, we'll go a 1/16 away from the border. We can let these parts rotate for best fit. We can rotate in step angles of 10 degrees. Allow parts inside of other parts. We will, because we can go inside of these when they turn and stuff. And preview. Okay. So this is going to take of these 18 by 18 inch sheets of 1/2 inch material. Oh, you son of a gun. Always click OK before closing your tool. So yeah, and I'm going to, while this is calculating, let me just show you here. Dog. Let me pull this over real quick and go to images. And let's see here. Well, here's an example of a dog bone fillet used on a dovetail. Basically, it allows those square parts to fit into those notches, and it gives a place for the corners to go, and it gives a place for that router bit to go. So we don't have to radius the corners on those square notches. That's an example of a dog bone fillet. Another example would be like this here, mortise and tenon, where we have a square peg fitting into a square hole. Here, the dog bone fillets in the four corners there allow that square peg to fit in that square hole. If we didn't put those fillets in there, those corners would be radiused on that inside pocket cut, you know, and you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. So that's what the dog bone fillets do. Okay, let's get out of that. All right, so as I was saying, click OK when you're done nesting here. And based on my spacing and gap between the parts and things, this is going to take 5 sheets of 18 by 18. Now, of course, I could make my sheet bigger and do them all on that, but I'm trying to lay this out for like smaller tables as well. But if you have a bigger sheet of 1/2 inch material, right, do them all out of that kind of deal. But for an 18 by 18 sheet that I'm just trying to lay this out at, it's going to take 5 of those 18 by 18s. Now I have a 24 by 40 table, and of course my material could be up to 40 inches long. In this case, I'll go 36, and so not that way. Sorry, 18 to 36. And, I could use a longer sheet, and of course I could fit, that would cut my sheets in half. I would only need, 3 sheets versus 5 kind of thing, if I used a longer sheet. But I got it set up for an 18 by 18 for smaller tables, just so you guys and girls can see and everything and all that wonderful jazz. Okay, so all of these are profile cuts except for this inner part of this mouth here. This is going to be now we can ungroup these so we can work with them. This is going to be a pocket cut here, and going to do a pocket cut, and I'm literally only cutting like this is 1/4 inch thick material, so it's like just a 1/16 of an inch deep or so, just to create a recess, and I'd be painting it and everything. But with an 1/8 inch end mill, not a 1/4 inch. And so that will create that kind of pocket cut, just for that part there. And then everything else is going to be a profile cut. And we can turn off this inside vector right here. We need that inside one there. but a profile cut toolpath. And the software knows that we have inside vectors on these. So it's smart enough to know to cut on the outside of the vector and then reverse the cut and cut on the inside of the vector for the inside ones and everything. And so it's going to be a profile cut. We're going to be cutting 1/4 of an inch deep. That's how thick our material is. We're going to be cutting on the outside of the line. As far as tabs go, man, I'm not going to use tabs on this. I would probably not worry about double side tape or tabs or anything on this. But if you feel you must use tab, then go through and add tabs. But I'm not going to add tabs for demonstration purposes. So let's preview the visible toolpath. Okay. And then when we're nesting, or when we nested, it created this is sheet 1 here. And now we have 4 other sheets, and I'll show you how to switch over. But, you know, we now have, and of course, I created a profile cut like an idiot with a 1/4 inch end mill when it should have been an 1/8 inch end mill. But you guys get the idea. Let's change that to an 1/8 of an inch so I don't screw it up when I actually cut it. Calculate. Very good. And I was wondering where my little fillets and all that went to, and it was because it was a 1/4 inch cut. But and let's turn down the preview simulation quality so it's much faster. Okay, so I've got all my parts here, and they're going to be pixelated because I'm using a low simulation quality, but I got all my parts, all my fillets and everything, so they'll fit together. And then now I'm in a nested view and I'm in sheet 1. So when you're wanting to switch to create the toolpaths for sheet 2, 3, 4, and 5, you simply go back over to your nesting tool. And in your nesting tool where it says active sheet, change that 1 to sheet 2. Okay. And then create your toolpath for sheet 2. And again, this would be a profile cut, cutting with an 1/8 inch end mill outside of the cut. Again, I'm not going to use tabs, and I'll just call this sheet 2. Calculate. We're not going to preview all of them, but so that would be sheet 2. And then once again, active sheet number 3. Select those vectors. Profile cut toolpath. Nothing changes here. Sheet 3. Calculate 4 and 5. You know, we would just repeat that. Active sheet number 4. Select your vectors, profile cut. Now some, you know, you might have cuts that are pockets and profiles, but in this particular project, it's all profiles except for that one pocket for the mouth. And this is sheet 4. And finally, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how late we were. 3 hours, 18 minutes. I'm sorry, guys. Finally, let's go active sheet 5. And profile cut. All right, now, when you have sheets like this, you know, where there is some space in here, gang up your jobs. If you have a job that's going to be cut out of the same type of material and everything, and there's room on this material for cutting out those jobs, create those toolpaths, you know, get those in there as well, and create those toolpaths so you can, you know, like, right, you know, when I'm carving out this pumpkin, if I have other smaller things, like maybe I'm making some snowflake Christmas ornaments or whatever, they can fit in this waste area here, and I can gang up jobs so that when my machine's running, it's cutting all of those parts out. And I could, because I've got plenty of space in here for smaller parts for other projects. So think about that, gang up those jobs and stuff. All right. So with that, again, that would be a profile cut. And that would be would be sheet 5 and calculate. Okay. So we'll go over here and go File, Save As to save our job. We should have saved early and saved often, but I didn't. And this is going to be our, we'll just call it a pumpkin puzzle because, you got to assemble it. So that's pretty much what it is. And you have yourself a cool 3D round pumpkin. You can hang it from strings on your front porch. You can set it on your dining room table. You can decorate it with go to Hobby Lobby and pick up some burlap and some fake leaves, autumn colored leaves to put around the bottom of it and dress it up and all those wonderful things. So, you got that pumpkin there, but you can dress it up, glue it to a round disc and put some, like I said, some autumn color leaves and some burlap around it, give it that Thanksgiving / Halloween feel. If you don't want the eyes and stuff on it or whatever, you just want a pumpkin because it's not because it's Thanksgiving and it's fall, like a fall season project. Do that, right? Eliminate all those notches and just, there you go. All right, everybody. Hopefully, and that's only 4 ribs. There's 3 of the ribs, just so you know, get notches on them. The 2 of the ribs is for the 2 eyes, and then the center rib that's in between those, because those are those 2 ribs that are out here. The center rib that's in between them gets the nose and the mouth. So only those 3 ribs needed the notches. All of them, the rest of them didn't, and everything. But hopefully you found this somewhat fun. Make some cool projects. Think about your Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, joyful and everything. Christmas signs, or holidays are coming up. Just to give you one last little quick to think about, a little inspiration in your mind. Really quickly, let's go to Christmas projects. Bear with me. Back up one. Proof images. Yeah, there we go. You can open up for me in time because these guys and girls are waiting for this last photo. Come on now. Now this was a proof, and there's a typo in this actual image that's coming up. So if you see the typo, don't correct me because I've already corrected it. But some Christmas signs, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas, text on text, Merry Christmas. Wall art, 24-inch by 24-inch round wall art. Some, pine trees, snowflakes, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Those wine trays we did last week, chip and dip bowls, letters to Santa, joyful, 'tis the season to be, Happy New Year, that kind of thing. Have some fun with your New Year one. This one's my New Year one says, may your resolutions be fulfilled and your toilet paper be bountiful. But, and then of course, don't forget about the Vectric projects, Vectric's free projects. There's some cool Vectric Christmas projects and stuff. So inspiration, get into that holiday season feeling and everything. Have some fun with it and make some sawdust, guys. All right. With that being said, until next time. I'll see you soon.